G'day folks, my name is Graham Stevenson and I'd like to invite you on a journey to meet and learn from artists all over the world. Sophia and I have travelled the globe, filming artists in their studios. But with our limited travel options these days, we bring you virtual colour in your life now. Learn techniques from some of the greatest artists in the world. Change things for the better by putting some colour in your life. Well, hi folks, and welcome to A Strange New World, and welcome to Virtual Colour in Your Life. We're actually talking to a Melbourne and an Adelaide artist. This lady goes from one studio to the other, but because of what's happened in the world these days, she happens to be here in her studio in Adelaide today, and we are filming her virtually, which is pretty amazing. Celia Moriarty, welcome to the show.
Welcome to you, Graham. I'm thrilled to have you here.
It's fantastic.
Colour in Your Life is my university.
Is that right? Well, hopefully there's still more to learn for everybody if that's the case. Now, you are an incredibly talented lady. I mean, you do a number of things. You do portraiture and also Australian wildflowers as well. And you've obviously got one at the back of you at the moment that we're actually going to be working towards today. But that actually is the finished picture that we're going to be painting today for you guys. But tell me how this all started for you as far as your art career is concerned. You're actually a communications facilitator in your old life, but now obviously as a full-time practicing artist. But just give me a little bit of a ground base on where this all began for you.
Well, it's really a few years back, a friend booked me into a secret sketching tours of Melbourne, and I loved it so much, and I really made a decision then that I was going to focus on art. And so I did some courses, and straight away I knew I wanted to paint Australian native wildflowers. We had so many small flowers, but I wanted to paint them big so that people would really notice them. And the best compliment I've ever had about my work is when someone said, once I started following your paintings, I started seeing the trees in my street in flower.
Yeah.
And to me, that was it. I cracked it when I've got people really noticing nature and connecting with that, because when you connect with nature, you also connect more with yourself.
Absolutely. And you also do another set of paintings on a number of Aboriginal people as well, which is pretty amazing.
I was just at the Botanic Gardens in Melbourne, and some of the staff, we were talking about the sacred lotus they planted, and one of the staff said, what do you do? And I said, I paint Australian natives. And he said, paint me. and of course I meant flowers.
Yeah, but then it started another journey, didn't it, anyway?
But 6 months later I was doing a oil painting course, and as we're going to do today, we started with a brown mono painting to begin, and this guy's face came out of the canvas, and I had to go back to the gardens and find him, and that's how I started painting people. That's
amazing. Well, what we'll do is we'll move on and get stuck into the whole situation, and then you've got a couple that you've prepared so that we can actually do this, obviously virtually, and we'll get stuck into it and go from there.
Great. I'm really looking forward to it.
Sounds fantastic. All right, Celia, well, I can see you got some brown down there, and you're actually starting with some underpainting on, and you do that with just about all of the works that you do as well.
Yes, I like an underpainting, Graham, because then I'm only concentrating on one thing at a time. Painting is decision making, so the more I can remove the number of decisions I have to make, the better.
Okay.
And this way I can just concentrate on the shapes and the form of this beautiful Queensland Lace Bark tree.
Okay, let's go and have a look then.
Okay.
Yeah, fire away.
So I'm just going to start with some dark background, and that'll just block in for us where the lovely flowers are. And when I start, I either start with what's darkest and also just what's easy.
Now, you've painted a number of the beautiful Australian natural flowers in your career, and you've got one called Alatissima, which is a gum tree, of course, but just you don't really realise how pretty the blossoms are until you actually, particularly with what you do, you see them in all their glory. I mean, generally you just sort of walk past, but as that lady was saying to you, she actually notices the trees a lot more now since she's been doing classes with you. I mean, even the common Korea, with all of the colours that it's got in there, these reds and yellows, they're just brilliant.
Yeah, they're a stunning little tulip flower.
So what type of paints are you actually using?
Graham, I really love the Winsor and Newton paints.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of these in acrylic because they're the only paint that I've found that holds its colour intensity when it's wet or dry.
Okay.
Sometimes, although paints have fillers for other useful reasons, they might be good for body or other things, but what I really want is that colour from the original pigment. And when you paint with something that you come back tomorrow and you think you put that highlight in and it's not there,
mm-hmm.
you really know the difference between having paints that you put it on and it's there.
Sure. And what about the brushes that you use?
Well, you'll notice I started with this lovely big brush. I like a bright brush. That means a short brush, and that gives me more control to be able to block things in.
Mm-hmm.
But as I keep going today, I'll start using an angle shader. I love these brushes that are on an angle because they really help you get into the corners. And the way I paint, there are corners because
mm-hmm.
it's quite definite. And so I loved an angle shader for that reason.
You actually teach online these days a lot as well. You've got some very popular classes. And so what is your website address if somebody wants to come and talk to you about doing some online lessons? What is that?
Well, I think it's right here, Grant.
There you go. CeliaMoriarty.com.
CeliaMoriartyArt.com.au.
There you go.
And the most important thing I've found about learning online is having an online community to work with.
Yes.
That's what makes all the difference. Because if you just pay for an online course, a lot of us, life gets in the way and, you might not even get on and do it. But when you've got an online community with painting, it's absolutely perfect because you're all painting the same thing. So you're dying to put your work up and show it and share it. And it really makes the whole thing so much more motivating and much more fun.
It's a lot of fun, absolutely. So you're just still mapping in those base colours all the way through then?
Yes, I just am putting in the darks first to show us where we're going. I'm just making a roadmap, if you like.
So do you go out and take a lot of your own photos? I would say that, living in Melbourne and Adelaide, going from back and forth, that the opportunity to see a lot of these wild flowers in their natural habitat is absolutely there for you.
As soon as I decided to paint Australian natives, that gave every walk purpose. When you paint from nature, you have endless possibilities of what you can work on. So I take photos constantly. I have to have all kinds of methods of offloading them off my devices because now I have purpose. I go and find certain blooms when I know they're going to be flowering now. So rather than just having that walk, it now has a whole different purpose and it really feels different, but it's a fantastic feeling.
Even when you're out there running into some of our magnificent native animals, like the koala bear, for a start.
Yes.
You can't beat that.
Well, that's the other thing about painting from nature is you start connecting with nature. I saw a koala just in the street just near here, and it climbed up a tree, and people just walked straight past it. They didn't know they were walking past a koala. And but once you begin looking, nature connects with you. It really changes your day. It makes you more curious and more aware of what's happening around you. So life becomes so much more interesting.
That's wonderful. And Celia, you also did a portrait painting course with Robin Eli years back, and it really helped you to sort of move on to a number of other situations as well. And you painted a lot of the women CEOs, I mean, very powerful, famous women to many extent, across Australia, and went on to do some pretty amazing things with that. Just tell me a bit more about that.
That's my series called Leading Women's Profile. Mm-hmm. Because Australia's ASX 200, which is the top 200 companies on the stock exchange, only have 6% women CEOs. And that's a pretty terrible figure. So I thought I can use portraits to bring attention to that and tell that story. So I contacted those 6% and I painted their portraits, and Rotary women presented them at Crown for International Women's Day, and also Deloitte displayed them at their office in Melbourne. Mm-hmm. And I sold them to raise funds for children coming out of child protection, because they have nothing and they're very vulnerable. And so I want to use these really strong women, strong leaders, and I asked each of them, what are your 3 key success factors, so that could create and inspire conversations around women and leadership. So portraits and art can be used that way to create conversations.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely fabulous. Basically, you're just putting out a monotype beforehand, so that you know where your darks and your lights and your tints and tones are and values.
From what I know, this is a technique that's been used since the old masters, because let's say they'd be painting the royal family portraits, and suddenly one brother is out of favour. And so the artist comes back with their finished work and they say, not Brother Bob. And
Brother Bob.
So, as you know, you can't just suddenly change the entire composition. You can't just stick a pot plant in there. So what they developed was doing the mono first, so just the black and white or sepia and white, so that everyone can see this is what it's going to look like. But if you want any changes, tell me now. So I understand that that's why it was developed, to help the client-artist relationship, so people could see what it was, but not tell you they want changes right at the end. So the colours are another whole level of thinking, and I like actually to do that separately, Graham. Can I show you?
Sure.
This is my sample colour. So I like to sit and do a separate exercise. So away from the canvas, just get out my little sketchbook and think through all the colours I'm going to use. I make all my colours here separately, so I'm only thinking about colour. Where's my reference?
There you go.
I'm looking at my reference. I'll put it there so you can see it better. I'm looking at my reference and I'm thinking, what are the colours there? How will I make those? And that's just one set of decisions by itself. And that works better for me to make it easy.
And the colours that you put into these are amazing. Kimberley Rose for a start, which is a fantastic piece. And also Kangaroo Paw. I love those reds in there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put up the other piece that you've prepared, and we're going to go into the colour side of what you're doing as well.
Great.
Okay, Celia, well, we've moved on to the next piece that you've got there, and you're going to start to put some more colours in.
Yeah. Again, I'm just using the same approach of just blocking in the dark, because that just shows us where we're going. It makes it easy.
So another part of your journey through your art world is working with a lot of the indigenous folks across the country as well. And you've got some amazing people. I mean, I think one that really does stand out is an Aboriginal man called Waverley, a young boy that had a natural talent that somebody saw, which was his school teacher. And now he's actually gone on to create a foundation himself where he actually finds talented young Indigenous boys and girls across Australia and helps them to get scholarships, which I think is just quite amazing. He's an incredible man.
Yeah, that's his foundation. It's called Yallery. It really helped him to somebody to believe in him and send him to Toowoomba Grammar. And so he helps rural kids from all over the country get the most fantastic schooling the country can offer.
That's what's amazing, isn't it? And also people like Tyrone. Now, there's a bit of a message there in this particular picture because you got him half in a Aboriginal football jersey and half in a suit. What's the story with that one?
Yeah, well, Tyrone feels like many Indigenous people do, that he walks in two worlds. So that's why on one side of him, that's his life, his suit. He's a teacher at a leading grammar school, Wesley, and on the other side, that's his Aboriginal footy gear. So the young people in particular have to walk those two worlds, and they feel it, they're conscious of it. So we used that device in his painting. Now,
tell me a little bit more about the Aboriginal gentleman called Dennis Fisher. You've painted him as well, but there's a bit of a story behind that.
Den takes the tours, the Aboriginal heritage tours at the Botanic Gardens in Melbourne, and he's also a disc jockey on Radio 3KND, Cool and Deadly. And it was Dan's idea to call that portrait series Keys to Our Country, because you can see in the painting he wears keys around his neck.
Yes.
And he feels that's really important because he didn't have keys to things as a boy growing up in a mission environment, and now he has keys. And they are the keys to life in so many ways. So that series is called Keys to Our Country, because we tell the stories of all those people I painted actually are people who bring Aboriginal culture into their work and teach us more about Aboriginal culture. And I feel that's our way forward to a stronger Australia, is to all learn more and be able to go there together.
Well said. You also won the Graham Milburn Art Prize with one of your pictures, which is a Youngiana.
Well, that's a really particularly lovely prize because Graham Milburn was a policeman in the Box Hill community, and they have commemorated him with this award. And I just think that is such a beautiful thing to do if there's somebody you care about and love, to make an award that recognises them every year and supports an artist to do their work. So I thought that one was really special.
That's great. Well, you're making some great progress here. I can see that you really do map a lot of those colours in. You're not pedantic about it at all. It's just getting the tones down and the colours down, and then coming back and probably refining it bit by bit as you go along.
Yeah. After I've made those colours in my sketchbook, then I know exactly what I want to put on. I don't have to spend time trying to create colours once I've started. I'm ready to roll, and I'll just do a first pass of colour, and then I'll come back and look at edges and intensity of colour. When some of these colours are up close, they're really bright when they're up close, but as they get further away, I might be using the same red, but maybe I put the opposite into it. Maybe I'll take that red and put some green in it, and that changes the intensity of the colour. And I've actually made a whole free lesson about that. I'll put it up on your site to help people understand more about using colour to tell the story and help them with depth and placement of what they're doing.
So tell me more about why your courses are so special and why people should sign up for them too.
Well, I think the people that work with me, they understand that I'm going to help them with a process that's going to keep them moving. So, as I said to you, I'm very interested in how the mind approaches getting things done. And so I teach people a process to help them get things done and keep their work moving. And so we really engage in a step-by-step process, and I make sure that we do that process together, because there's an online community so we can work together and put our work up together. But I feel it's important to not just show somebody once. Hey, presto, there you are. I want people to work through that process a number of times, because each time you do it, you go, oh, yeah, okay, you'll get something new and have those aha moments. And when you're working with a group, of course, you can share those with people, and it's a lot more fun.
Yeah, and it's disregardless if it's Australian flora or not. It's sort of the laws apply no matter what flower you're looking at, whether it be Edelweiss in Switzerland or a desert cactus in Arizona.
That's absolutely right. But also, it doesn't all the things I'm showing you, if it's how to create folds, well, that could be folds in fabric, folds in rolling hills. It's really going to be the same guidelines apply. So where you just happen to use nature to begin with, and I also encourage people to, look at the flowers and the foliage where they live when they go for a walk, to be taking a walk every day and really noticing things. So there's a lot of aspects of actually helping people to understand how to engage with the process and get a job done. Because look, let's have a look at this painting now, Graham. Maybe if I were a beginner and I'm looking at this, I might be thinking, oh, that's not saying what I thought. That might not be looking any good. And very often, particularly for adults, when we're learning something new, 60% of the time, apparently, we're just going to dump it and go back to what we know. So when you get to this stage in a painting, once you're painting all the time, you know that this is part of the process. It's not going to look great all the way. But the point is, if you stay with it and you stay with the process, there's a point at about after 80% mark where it will just bang, all come together. And when you're working through in a methodical way, you just have to stay with it and trust and know that that will come.
Well, because of this brave new world that we've just entered into and virtual colour in your life, you've actually put together a time lapse for us on this piece as well to get us to the end, which is pretty amazing. You've done a really great job, very well prepared. But as you can see, folks, we go through the whole process and then you can see the finished result as well, but it looks just quite amazing. Well, that was amazing, and thank you very much for tuning in today, Celia, and then being part and parcel of our new format, which is virtual colour in your life. It's been quite amazing, and the guys do an incredible job with the technology. Now, would you like to tell us what your website address is again?
celiamoriartyart.com.au. And let me thank you, Graham. I am thrilled to be part of the Colour in Your Life team, and it's just been wonderful for me to welcome you here and do this painting for you. So thank you so much.
It's just wonderful, and I would highly recommend going along to see Celia and her courses as well. They are online, so you can be anywhere else in the world and do this as well. You can come and see us at colourinayourlife.com.au and on our Facebook page and our YouTube. It's been tremendous. We've had a great day, and remember, as we always say, make sure
put some colour in your life.
You put some colour in your life. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye now. Bye.